Hello and welcome to Creations by Papa Sue. Today I want to show you how you can apply seamless patterns to your eCAL or SCAL designs, whether you want to print and cut or piece cut or however you want to use it. At least you will have some really nice patterns and not use up a lot of paper. So let's get started. I've already imported my Digistamp from Inkscape. And so we're going to start with ungrouping it so we can work with it. Now I am working on an 8.5 by 12-inch mat in vertical orientation. My units are in inches, and my paper size is 8.5 by 11. You can see here my mat size is there. My orientation is vertical. So now that we have our design ready to start filling in, I'm just going to move the mat down here out of the way. I didn't want the chick to be a pattern, so I'm just going to go to the fill box and fill with color, choose my color, and I'll just use banana. This is the subjective part of the whole thing. Fill that with color, banana, and the little beak color, and we'll make that cantaloupe. Alright, so that was the easy part. Now, I've already downloaded 3 different patterns from Pattern Cooler, and I've stored them in the same file where the Digistamp is. It makes it a lot easier to find. So I select the first piece, I go to fill, and I'm going to fill it with a pattern. And the pattern library is going to come up, and they're not in the pattern library. They're an image stored on my computer, so I want to load image. We'll go back one layer. And I changed the names of the pattern colored file names because they're just too long and non-descriptive. So chick 1, this is the pattern I downloaded. Okay. It's really just that simple. Pattern, image file, load image. And now we'll add the last pattern. And I just cut out a step, but you would do the same as you did above. Now, you're basically done if you're not a paper piecer and you want to just print this image, put your mat around it, put it on your mat, and cut around it. You would turn these all off in your layers palette and just cut the mat. But for the paper piecers who actually want to cut out these the whole thing and then paper piece onto the mat, we're going to take it one step further. What I found is when I went to print this, because I had the black lines, they obviously printed, so if the cut was a little bit off because the mat was a little bit skewed or whatever, I had the black lines. So I found the easiest thing to do was just select it all and make no stroke. So that's what's going to print with no stroke. You do want to move this out because you want that cut separately. So they're spaced nicely. I found on eCAL it cut them this close together without a problem. I also, because I want to cut the matte out and I don't want the black lines, that if I went and I took the stroke out of that and then I filled it with a color just so I could see it, and it's filled with snow so that you can barely see it, but it's there. Now the next step is to go to File, Print. And I'm going to preview it. And I can see that it's going to print just fine. I have to move this over. And that'll print. And even though the mat isn't showing, it's there in the design for cutting. So here we are. We'll go back and get ready to cut. What I did first, I printed it on my 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and then I very, very precisely put the corner edge of the paper right at the top of the this little diamond, aligned it as best I could along the sides. That will help a lot. And then I did a laser cut. And I could watch and see the laser go around all the pieces, so I knew I had my orientation correct before I actually said cut. And if I cut with the cutter, I cut normal, I changed to medium cardstock because that's what I was using. My pressure was fine, and I just cut. I did not use print to cut. I didn't find that I got any better cut by going through all of that with the lining and the whatever and whatever. But you can practice with that. White cardstock isn't very expensive. And you've already saved a ton of money on paper by not having to print big pieces of these patterns. So that's pretty much it. I hope this has been instructive. I also did a video on how to add patterns in Inkscape, and both of those will be in the same blog post on my blog. I hope to see you come back with your impression of this image with all of the patterns that you've chosen. I'll put a link to Pattern Cooler so you can go and see what you can find there. Thank you very much for being here. Bye.